Kia ora, aroha mai. Welcome to our flosstube, Neat and Not by the Sea. My name is Catherine and my pronouns are she, her.
And my name is Victoria and my pronouns are she, her.
Hello.
Hi.
So maybe the first thing we should say is that it's not Pride Month in New Zealand. Pride in New Zealand is in March, but it's Pride in America, which kind of means that you hear about it worldwide. I think it's Pride wherever it's summer.
Yeah.
And it's really lovely. I'm getting lots of things off Instagram about Pride in Peru and Mexico and other places, so that's great.
Excellent.
So yay for Pride. Just remember to also, write to your MP and say that you're interested in things that support queer people. It's not just about the parade, although the parades are good. Okay. Now that I've done that bit that we didn't discuss earlier.
That's cool.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. So in the last 2 weeks, what have I been doing? It was my niece's 10th birthday.
Oh, yes.
So she's gotten to the age where she likes money and she likes to go shopping. So my mum and I took her out shopping and she had her birthday money and we spent...
I didn't realize it was with your mum.
Yeah, so Clementine, I shouldn't have said her name. My niece, I gave her money and my mum gave her money for her birthday, and then we took her shopping.
Best things when you're that age.
Yeah, and my sister, so her mother came as well, and she likes to shop, and we went to a lot of shops, and we spent a long time in lots of shops, and she bought lots of little things, and she had a blast, and I also spent a lot of money that I wasn't planning to. I'll show you one of the things I bought later.
Yeah, you're going
to sort of stitchy adjacent, I suppose.
Yeah, it all supports your stitchy life.
It did. It was great. I have caught up with some friends and they're all good. And it is cold here because it's middle of winter. It's almost the longest day, I think, next week.
I think winter has just started.
That's what I meant.
Winter has actually just started. You just feel it's the middle of winter, but it isn't.
It's cold and it's wet. And you just want to be in bed with an extra blanket on.
Well, my house is toasty.
Your house is lovely and toasty.
I actually love winter, and I'm perfectly happy. I'm very happy to be at home anyway.
Nice.
But people that love to be outdoors, these are tough days because it's been very windy and very rainy, but
and cold.
You can lie in bed and you can hear in New Zealand, most of the roofs are corrugated iron, and I grew up with corrugated iron in Peru, so lovely to hear the sound of the rain pelting onto the corrugated iron roofs.
But it's just dark early and
yay winter.
Usually I love winter. Usually winter I'm like all for it, but I've just found it really tough going this year.
You've been vocal about.
I have way more vocal, and I think that's just because I'm getting old.
Well, that's a thing. But also maybe it's also part of the whole COVID thing. We've spent so much of the last 2 years indoors. Maybe it is just getting harder.
Yeah.
And of course you would have done your Sal evening.
Yes, my Sal evening was... So, the Sal is every second Tuesday of the month.
I thought it was once a month.
Yes, every second Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of every month. So it's once a month and it happens on the second Tuesday.
That was my mistake, yeah.
No, that was... I spoke incorrectly, I think. And I got a bit confused about the second week of the month and the second Tuesday.
Overexcited.
So I turned up a whole week early to my class and got some very odd looks when I went in. I'm like, oh, this isn't my class, is it? But that was last night and we had a great time. And hello, Amy. Amy is a watcher of our floss tube.
The one we've been talking about.
Yeah, and we follow her on Instagram. It's great. She is it's easy.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. Something like that
on Instagram.
Yeah, and I was very excited because I saw about a couple of weeks ago she posted the project that we're working on. I'm like, it can't be a coincidence that someone I'm following is doing the same project as I am and is in the same bit. I bet she's in my class. I'll have to sort of sleuth her out. But then she commented last week, so that was great because
we talked about her. We talked about the fact that we thought it might be.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Because she responded saying, it was me!
Oh, excellent. I've got no memory for this stuff. It's winter.
I remember all the details, just not people's names.
That's great. I don't remember any of it. So, together, our powers combined.
So how many people in the class? In the group?
I think there were 5 people and the teacher, and then there is a 6th member who Skypes in from somewhere down south.
I didn't realise they offered it with Skype as well. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know if Skype's the norm, but it's nice and inclusive, and it people who are a little bit further away and don't have access to the wonderful things like classes and
Yeah. I mean, New Zealand has a lot of rural living.
yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes rural living means no good internet, but you
Yeah.
know, if you have got good internet, it's great that they offer it like that.
No, it's a great new project. I'm really enjoying it. I'll show you where I got up to.
Great.
Camp coming up. What about you? What's your tralala in
My tralalying fortnight has mostly been me being quite ill, but also quite ill / stupid about it.
Aw.
So I was feeling ill last Thursday. And we hung out, but my illness on Thursday started with me feeling incredibly tired, just exhausted. And it wasn't until Saturday when I was speaking to a friend in England who has actually never met me in person. And she said, couldn't it be your allergies, Catherine? And I thought, now there's a thought. So then I started taking my antihistamines again.
Yeah.
By which point it had got into my sinuses, which
Oh.
I suffer chronically with bad sinuses. So then I was like, oh, the antihistamines will sort it out. And I was doing my nasal rinses that I do. Too late. I was quite unwell. But in my head, I'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
So on Monday, when I could have phoned the GP and got like maybe antibiotics, I was like, I'm sure it will get better. Well, on Tuesday, my lord, I was in so much pain. I couldn't really speak because I couldn't, if my teeth touched my bottom and my top jaw, it was so painful. So I couldn't really chew and I couldn't really speak. I was in so much pain. And of course, it's exhausting when you're in that much pain. So I phoned the doctor. I managed to get a phone consultation very quickly. Thank goodness for phone consultations because I couldn't be bothered to leave my house.
I think waiting time for appointments like 2 weeks or something at the moment.
Oh, it's
Some of them
ridiculous. But
yeah.
I'm very lucky that in Port, which is my surgery, you phone at 9 and quite often they will have a gap.
Yeah.
So I was able to have an appointment and then she agreed that maybe antibiotics would be the thing. And of course, it's all electronic, so it gets sent to the chemist. And then I was down at the chemist like 10 minutes after, going hi. And then I was.
I think the chemists down here deliver. You can
I
pay
don't
a
know.
delivery fee.
Yeah, I'm not bothered. I mean, it's 5 minutes down the road. But then I was on pain. I'd been on painkillers since Thursday.
Yeah.
This is so interesting, right? You're so glad Victoria asked me. Anyway, I finally woke up on Wednesday morning with no pain.
Oh,
So I was like,
good.
oh, thank goodness the antibiotics are starting to work. But I'm back on painkillers because after one great day, I kind of feel a little bit ropey again. Just, I think it wears you down.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
It was a toss-up today whether I was going to film in my bathrobe.
She
Victoria
answered her
arrived.
door in the bathrobe, and I'm like, shivers, she's forgotten. Or, yeah.
But then I wanted to talk about this top, so
Yeah.
I decided to put some clothes on. So yeah, I kind of I'm really disappointed because you know when we were talking about when you're poorly, sometimes you can just have such a great time watching things on YouTube and Netflix and stuff. No,
And then sometimes you're poorly, and all
I
you
was
need
just
is
too
the
poorly,
blanket
and
over
I was
your
just
head.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very pathetic.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was poorly enough that even lovely things weren't lovely.
Aww.
So I felt a bit sorry for myself. I'm way better now. I did
Glad you're
take
feeling better.
this afternoon off because I was just so tired. But yeah, back to work tomorrow. So anyway, so that was me really, which is really disappointing. That is not what I like to do with my fortnight. So I missed on a couple of fun things that I could have done.
Aw.
But c'est la vie. Yeah, so that's shenanigans. Hopefully the next fortnight is going to be better.
Yeah, well, I think I've just remembered an entertaining story
go
that
on.
probably rivals you being sick.
Okay, go on.
So, I was very naughty on Saturday night, and I did the just one more chapter thing, and ended up not turning my light off to about 4 o'clock in the morning with book finished. It was Saturday night, so I'm like, that's
You
fine.
did that in the week and you stopped reading up like 1:30.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's bad. And then,
This is a romance, right?
Yes, it was.
Of course. You're so Moorish. That's the worst
You know
thing.
it has a happy ending. You can put it away.
You could. But
The funny thing was is that I, for whatever reason, I was up at my normal Sunday time, which is about 9 o'clock. So by about 5 o'clock, I was shattered, and so I climbed into bed, and I was asleep before 6 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
But because I tend not to sleep very well if I'm sleeping for long stretches, and so I woke up at what was 8:30. Very confused because I looked at my phone
thought it was Monday.
and it said 8:30 and I panicked because at 8:30 work starts and I was like, why didn't the alarm go off? And I started getting up and then I realised it was like it's dark outside, not morning dark.
Yeah.
I was like, Tori, it's only 8:30, so I went back to bed. It was great.
Have you learnt your lesson?
No, probably not. If I haven't learned that lesson by now, it's gone.
Well, I think part of the reason I was so tired today is because I did go to sleep late last night. Not late by my usual standards, but I think I probably went to sleep by 11. That was not a good idea. Yeah.
It was just this, flat panic at 8:30 at night because I thought I was late for work.
Yeah. Poor you. But hey, it must have been a good book.
No, particularly.
No. Speaking of, have you seen anything good recently? Have you watched anything good recently?
So I watched a recommendation from your husband.
I don't know why they're friends. They have more in common than I do with Victoria, really. Quite rude.
It was, is it Jack Reacher? The
Oh,
new
God,
one on
yeah.
Disney Plus. That Martin
You're giving
recommended.
away all my secrets about this sort of man I've married.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, for what it is, it's great fun. I was just personally annoyed because if you know anything about Jack Reacher, he's supposed to be, I think Martin said he's supposed to be
Tall.
like 6'6", 6'5", and they make an awful lot of comments about him in the movie about him being so big and how did you get so big and oh you're so tall, but the actor's only 6'1", so he just looked like normal height compared to everyone else. They didn't even do any filming tricks to make him look taller.
But remember that Jack Reacher before was Tom Cruise, who's actually very short.
Very short, yes.
So they were probably terribly proud of themselves.
We do not even acknowledge Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Well, that's that then.
I just thought it was so bizarre. They should have just left out all the references.
But I think they were
to being so
proud
big
that
and
they
tall.
got a tall person, like
No.
not a Tom Cruise height.
Because I'm a tall woman. I'm just, I don't know what I am. I'm 5 something up the top.
And you wear heels.
And I wear heels. So quite often I'm 6'1", 6'2". And so 6'1",
Oh, but 6'1", 6'2" is a good height then.
that is a good height. But it's,
Don't say
It's-
something not feminist,
No,
because
no.
you're saying like for a man.
no, for a man that is tall. But it is normal tall. Like there's heaps of people around 6'1". Being 6'1", 6'2", you barely stand out, at least not in Dunedin, in heights. But if you're 6'5", 6'6", you do. You definitely notice a man that tall.
She's very committed to this idea of Jack Reacher.
No, you guess.
Martin was really pleased when, I remember, because sometimes I do try and pay attention to the things he tells me, and I remember him kind of rolling his eyes at the Tom Cruise situation.
Oh, the Tom Cruise situations.
And then
I'm not a fan of Tom
he
Cruise.
did
Sorry,
say-
Tom Cruise fans.
No, but then not. He's not bothered. He watches Tom Cruise stuff. It doesn't matter. It's just entertainment. But he had said that it was just so weird that they had cast something that everybody knows is short.
Yeah, he's.
And so he did say, "Oh no, this guy is actually tall."
He is tall. I'm not saying he's not tall. I'm
You're
just
just
saying
gonna repeat
he
everything
is
'cause you
not
care too
tall
much.
enough
You
for
care too
everyone to
much.
reference about how tall he
You
is.
care too much. I think they referenced that because they were having a dig at Tom Cruise.
Oh, I don't know whether it's that or because in the book he's supposed to be really tall.
Anyway.
And what else have I been watching?
Guess what I watched?
What did you watch?
Which you lent us, and you kind of made a funny kind of.
Did you watch Little Lord Fauntleroy?
I watched we watched Little Lord Fauntleroy, and can I just say I really loved it, and I want to watch it again. And I think it's because it was just a little bit poorly, and life's a bit tough sometimes. And I just really enjoyed it,
It is a good.
and I just want to watch it again and just enjoy all the other things I enjoy. Now I know the story.
Yeah.
I just want to enjoy all the other, like some of the costumes and the houses and that sort of thing.
For those of you who are fans of period drama, this is an old one. This must have been done in
This
the
looked like 80s.
80s?
80s, yeah.
80s. Yeah.
But Martin recognised some of this. Oh, Martin was a bit annoying because he kept like finding fault.
Aww.
And I was like, don't ruin it, old man. Anyway, yeah, it was kind of fun. And we also watched a Drew Barrymore Cinderella type story, which is quite old.
Oh, Ever After. That's a
Yes.
fantastic movie. That's the best Cinderella movie I've ever seen.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it was good.
What's the best Cinderella movie you've ever seen?
Well, I don't rank my Cinderella movies, Victoria.
So then Ever After is the best. I'm telling you, Ever After is the best one you've ever
I have
seen.
watched too many because that's a genre that Christina really enjoys.
Yeah.
No, I don't rank.
Let me tell you, it's the best one.
And I do want to watch Sense and Sensibility. I just want to binge watch period dramas now. That's what you do in winter, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
we're now
I
at
have a
15
hankering
minutes.
for North and South. Yeah.
Oh yes, look back at me.
Oh.
Anyway, 15 minutes and we have not talked about making.
Okay.
Okay, so have you got any FFOs?
No.
Do you have any FOs?
No.
Oh, do I have FOs? Gosh, I'm disorganized. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I have got some fully finished, but I haven't bought them here because I thought I'll just do them at my place because they're
Also,
in
next
frames.
time I come to your house in the day, because we're filming just in my house at the moment,
We should do a little shot, yeah.
we should do a little capture. I don't have any I do have FFOs, but they're not cross stitch.
That's cool.
Okay, so let's do whips then.
Do whips.
You start with something.
I will start. Okay, well, since we're talking about period dramas, it seems only right to start with the one that I've been doing for the last 3 videos that we've been talking about. Miss Bingley's Library by Plum Street Sampler. Oh, excuse me. I'm really enjoying this one at the moment. Don't seem to be completing much, but I am enjoying it. So, I have completed the first floor weatherboards, or whatever it is, plaster. I have got all of the shades in, I have got all of the window
Weatherboards,
sashes
I love
in,
that.
and I am halfway through doing the interior darkness. But it's cool, it's coming along. I've still got a whole pile of stuff to do at the top, but I'm enjoying the house. It's a nice, easy one to do when you are trying to do something else.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's a shame that I didn't bring, because my finished piece is in Waikawaiisi.
Well, when they're finished, we'll have to do a side by
Yeah,
side.
but I was thinking it's also Pride Month in so many other countries that watch us. I could have shown my pride, my inclusive pride flag.
Well, I think we've got another session this week. No, we don't.
No, whatever.
Oh,
It's fine. People have seen it.
Yes, we must have another one to do this month. It's on the 16th.
Maybe this is the 30th. Maybe that's a Thursday. Yeah. Anyway, I try to be the good sorts try to be inclusive all year round. It's not just a 1 month. Right. Okay. So, did you love that little pause? We're not
Really
editing
onto it
that.
today.
Okay. So I want to talk about the Rose Cottage sampler, which I love, and this is by Stacy Nash. You all know I love. Oh, I don't think I've done anything on this.
Oh, you have. You have. Yes, you have.
I have? Okay.
Yeah, you've done about a quarter of that.
No. Well, anyway, so I must have just finished it. So this is, the bottom bit's now finished, and I do love full coverage, and I'm just in love with this. Took forever. And, you know, you have my personalizations. Chan, chan, chan. This kind of looks ecclesiastical, because there's like a cross at the top, and rubies, because we know how much precious stones the churches have. Yeah, really happy with this.
Excellent.
I do want to continue, and I had I'm quite strict with myself, so I'm like, in my head I'm like, okay, I'll progress to this, and then I move on. So I did move on, and then I got ill. So I said I was going to front load non-cross stitch, and I didn't. I just did all cross stitch, then I got ill.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I do love it, and I'm using just any old color, and I dyed this fabric. I think this was the same fabric that I dyed with avocado when I did yours.
Yes, I think it looks about the same, or of a similar.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I was so inspired. Okay, you finished?
Yeah.
I was so inspired by your keenness on full coverage.
Great.
That I got out my peacock, a unicorn, and a badger.
Yeah, I follow a few accounts that are working on this as well. It's so Moorish.
I thought I'd found this great one that no one else was doing, and I've since discovered heaps of people are doing it.
I don't think it's that popular because I think people shy away from full coverage anyway.
And I have done this whole flower here and what is done of the snail. I'm just loving this so much.
So you've done the flower and...
The snail on top of it.
Oh, okay, great.
It's so much fun, this one. And it's... Once you do the outline of something, it's really easy to fill it in.
And this is variegated threads or
No, this is
DMC?
just DMC. Not just, this is DMC, so it's all...
Cool.
It's
there was something quite voluptuous about it. It really does look Victorian to me.
And very rich. See, I would have said...
maybe earlier than Victorian.
Edwardian.
Actually. Oh no! See, I'm thinking earlier.
Earlier, so what?
Like 17th century.
Elizabethan. No, not quite.
No, but after Elizabethan,
Yeah.
but before Victorian. So 17
Georgian?
something. Yeah, yeah. It's got a vibe.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking Chatsworth House.
Yeah.
And some of those very over the top decorations. Very beautiful.
I love it. This would be an amazing piece to do as a tapestry for a
Yeah,
cushion.
that's what I kind of keep thinking about. Very beautiful.
Loving it.
It'd be interesting to see the progress because I know you don't track it on like an app, but I mean visually you can see you're not even an eighth done.
No, not at all.
No,
I haven't even done a page.
Okay. So I'm gonna be borrowing this when you're done. But I also think like just elements of it would be cool that you could just do the water area.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It'd be
Like,
a
I
cool
love
bookmark
that
or something.
fish.
Yeah.
I think it'd be bigger than a bookmark. But I love the fish.
The animals in it, every time
They're just
you
so
look
cool.
into it, you're like, oh, I didn't even notice that was there. That's so cool. How could I miss it? So it's
Yeah.
really delightful to discover it as I'm stitching it.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, look, they've got a unicorn.
They've got a
Victoria.
unicorn.
Yeah. Cool. Very well done. So what else have I got? I've brought out everything I think I've worked on, but let's see if I'm right.
Pardon me.
Had I shown this?
No, that's new.
Okay.
You were
So-
at mine.
So this is a sal that I'm doing with Ella from Spectrum Stitcher, who's in Australia. And we're doing And the Forest Grew. And the idea, the sal is #WithWhatYouHaveSal. So the idea is that you don't rush out and buy all the called for threads and fabric, but you look at your stash of beautiful things you already have and pick from that. And I do that anyway. So, but I was kind of keen. I divided it in what was left of the year because I'm kind of hoping to finish this year. Ha ha. But anyway, I counted the entire tree with the phrase as one motif, the same as say this tree, which of course was not going to be right. But anyway, I've been rushing ahead to try and get the quote finished, which is a conservation quote by Pete Seeger, who's a musician, a folk musician and an activist. And it reads, "If it can't be reduced, reused, repaired, rebuilt, refurbished, refinished, resold, recycled or composted, then it should be restricted, redesigned or removed from production." Pete Seeger.
Nice. And you've put that in very nicely.
Didn't it fit beautifully by accident? This is a thing I did. Growing up, I went to school in Peru, so all my growing up until just before I was 18. No, until just after I was 18, I went to university for a year in Peru, but it was all in Spanish. And one of the conventions was that if you had to break up a word, if you ran out of room, you would have to put a little dash and then continue. So Spanish is a language that can be split very easily into syllables. It's not like English where...
We do this in English too.
Yeah, but... Anyway, things changed. But people don't do this now. It's like, what? It's like blooming demoting a planet. You spend years in school learning and then they demote a planet and you're like, what? How many planets?
No, the nursery rhyme doesn't work, or whatever it's called.
The
mnemonic. The mnemonic, that's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I never learned mnemonics in Spanish, I think. It's not a thing that we did, I don't think. Anyway, this was a little ode to my childhood. I was like, oh, because I was going to leave a gap, and I said, no, write some of the words so you can put a little dash. That will be cute.
Nice.
So I did.
It's looking fab.
Yeah, I'm super happy. So I finished that, and now I can move on to the motifs as well, which I love. And again, like yours, this is a piece that has a lot of a lot of animals, which I didn't realize initially. I thought it was just trees. And also, if I was contacted by someone on Instagram, someone that lives very near where I used to live in Leeds, so that was a bit exciting. And she said, "Oh, I've had this piece for ages, but the quote didn't inspire me, so I haven't stitched it. But when you said that you were going to use that quote, I was like, oh, I'll do it. You don't have to like ask me if you can use that quote, because the quote's out in the universe. Just rock on and enjoy the quote." Although it was very lovely to make contact with her. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that.
Excellent.
And so that's hashtag with what you have, Sal. So if you want to do something like that with any pattern, do join. It's good fun.
Okay.
That's it.
So, my last one, I haven't worked on much this fortnight, it seems.
Because you've been reading romances till 4 in the morning.
Yeah. But this is the Twisted Band sampler that I'm doing. This is the stitch along. And I don't have a picture of it, unfortunately, because
It's
I'm still waiting for the
getting quite
patterns to come in.
dark.
Yes, it's very appropriate for Pride Month. It, even though this is not Pride Month, it's a rainbow. The colours are all rainbow.
Uh-huh.
But something that I did for this one that I've never done for another one, but I would highly recommend it, is that I have marked out, because this is what the teacher told us to do, the tens. So, you know, that's 0, 1, 2, or 10, 20, 30. And it's really helped, and you can jump all over the place. It's great.
Which means that you don't have to stop and count every
Count
time.
everything.
Yeah.
Yep, you can just check, oh, yep, that's coming in the right place. So, I had done up to the butterflies for the last cell, and now we're doing the next 2 rows. So, can you see in there?
It's going to be slower now, isn't it?
Yes, because the lines are longer. So, there are 3 different stitches in there. There is rice stitch over 4, scallop stitch, and ray stitch. And I'm having so much fun doing these.
Oh, nice. You really are enjoying this project,
I'm
aren't
really
you?
enjoying this one.
Which is funny, because it was complete impulse.
It was a complete, I wasn't going to do it. I was like, yeah.
Great.
But it's great fun. And it's done on 40 count Nougat.
Nice. I like this last colour, the latest one you've added. It's kind of like a chocolate.
This is also
But it's like a
DMCs, yes.
maroony chocolate as well. Like almost like it's got a burgundy undertone. Nice. Nice. Very good.
It's lots of fun.
Great. What have I got? Have I worked on this? Can't remember. You probably will. No, I don't. Yes, I have.
Yes, you've done
I
these.
have. Thank God. You have to have younger friends. It's very handy. So I added these 2 flowers.
They look
So this is
good.
Consider the Lilies by
It's Heartstring Samplery.
Heartstring Sampler. Yeah, that's the wrong card anyway. And this is the one where I changed the phrase because I wanted it in Spanish, and it's a poem by Benedetti, as sung by Susana Baca, who's just won some award. She's all over my Instagram at the moment. She's got a beautiful voice. But see, one of my passions is fuchsias and fuchsia-like flowers, and I think these are fuchsia adjacent. So it made me very happy to make them. So again, I've done the thing where they're kind of cousins. They're not exactly the same color. I'm using slightly different colors.
I think even in the pattern, like not necessarily that particular one, but it's not.
They're not
the colours
matched.
aren't
They don't
mirrored
match.
anyway, no.
Yeah. So I'm kind of making a point of not matching them as well.
Which is great.
Which is really nice to use up little bits, and
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying using your leftovers. So
Excellent.
that's great. And I do love it. I just think it's so whimsical, like this bit here. I just think it's so whimsical how it kind of sticks out, and it's just like, I'm just a flower head. I love it. I love this so much. I'm just very happy with it.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm loving the colours you've chosen, and I love how bright it is.
Yeah. This is a good winter project. If it's grey and miserable out there, this is bright and it'll keep you cheery.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm really happy. Oh, and oh gosh, was it Shelley? Gosh, I'm terrible with names. She did comment, and she was because we talked about her last time. It's only stitching, and how she'd done a mashup.
She'd mashed them up. Yeah.
I just think you can do anything with these two of hers. Such good value for money, because you're going to be at it for 2 years.
I love a big one.
Yeah,
It's great.
Yeah, and a few channels talk about, oh, and then you can use this for something, but nobody does. They just go out and buy something else. There's just too much good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've got one more. Oh yeah, this is the first one that I started after we filmed last time, and I was just like, I'm gonna finish the box. So this is my cuando. What is it? This is the Mexican one. Cuando se corona un gusto. So this is the one that's, I believe, in a museum, and Yanni Stitcher has charted it, and she's charted it in a traditional way, exactly how it's in the museum, but she's also charted it so that the words don't run into one another and it's easier to read. But I'm stitching the traditional one, how it is in the museum. And I just love this blue. What color is the blue? Because I love this blue. I'm like addicted to this blue.
I'm going to have a guess and say 519. I have no idea.
You're hilarious. It'd be hilarious if it is. 312.
Oh, really wrong.
Yeah, DMC 312. It's just the most beautiful blue. I love it so much. But after spending time doing all of this, I was like, you can't make me do more. I don't know. But isn't it gorgeous?
It's looking fabulous.
Love it. So this was great because it was very symmetrical. This was great because it was very symmetrical. And then these were a bit less symmetrical. But of course, I don't follow the rules. Like, minimal counting. I was eyeballing. It's like, yeah, I think you can start there, Catherine. That's fine. But isn't it gorgeous?
It's so lovely. And it's on a lovely piece of fabric too.
Yes, so this is from number 12 Stitch Co.
That silvery moon.
Rain Cloud, 36 count. Oh gosh, I follow Nicola on Instagram. So her Instagram is not number 12 Stitch Co, but it's something like stitching at number 12, something like that. Anyway, she's just gone on holidays. She's gone on a beach holiday and like a little break. Oh my gosh, Australia has the most interesting birds.
Yeah.
She had these really interesting birds. And Australia is kind of on our list now, although who knows when we'll be able to travel. Because, buying broccoli is expensive in New Zealand at the moment, so never mind going on holiday. But maybe next year we'll get to travel. We would like to see the wildlife and... Because Martin's broken me in now. I'm all about the wildlife. I was never like that. But we would like to see the wildlife, and I would like to see some of the cultural things, the Aboriginal people's artworks. I find those quite interesting. Uluru, maybe. I'm not sure how close you can get, but I think you can see it from afar anyway. That would be really interesting. Anyway, it is on the mental list.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it's a lot closer than a lot of other places on the mental list, so that's always positive.
Yeah. I mean, we keep making all these plans, but life changes. So who knows? But I finally do feel like, we could travel. People are traveling and nobody's getting stuck. So maybe that's a possibility. But we'll see. We still have, maybe when the girls finish their degrees, that'd be easier. Anyway, love that project. I'm super happy.
Excellent.
Do you have any acquisitions, Victoria?
Well,
Stitchy
shall I show
ones.
my no stitchy ones, just stitching adjacent?
Okay, I think you should show it because, come on now.
So one of the shops we went to is called
teasing.
Smiggle. And Smiggle, I don't know whether it's an international brand, but in New Zealand it is a stationery brand and it's aimed at tweens, I would have thought. It's all bright and colourful and it's got scratch and sniff stickers and it's got...
But it also
the
has
pens.
beautiful notebooks. And
It has beautiful notebooks and lovely pens.
It's people that like, because I have friends my age that are like, I went to Smiggle and I bought a new notebook. So definitely, like, the starting point is tweens.
Really, really big in the 10 and 12-year-old.
And it's
Really
not
big.
cheap.
It's not cheap. But they had a wonderful Queen's Birthday sale.
Oh, okay.
It was 40% off.
Bum.
I bought an overnight bag, which I have turned into my craft bag. And it is the Little Mermaid. And it's got the mermaid on the back.
So it's a Little Mermaid. I
It's
thought
that
it was
Little
just
Mermaid,
a
like
mermaid.
Disney.
Okay.
No, Disney's Little Mermaid. All my projects are in there. Or most of them. And it's got
And it's
handles.
waterproof.
It's got a big long strap. It's really well, like it's really quality stuff. It's very plastic, but, and it's got a starfish key thing. And there's lots of glitter and stuff in it, and it sparkles and
Happiness.
it's great. I did not go out with the budget to buy this, but I did anyway.
Oh well.
It wasn't that much.
You're a grown-up, right?
I wasn't supposed to be spending, but that's all right. It wasn't horrendous, and it was 50% or 40% off, so
Great.
bargain.
You were thinking that you were going to rejudge how you stored your things.
Yes.
So, I haven't been buying anything. I've kind of been resisting. My sister bought me a couple of books that were on my wish list.
Yeah, it's kind.
I am for my birthday, for my 50th.
It's still kind.
It is. I suspect she hasn't posted them yet. Because as a family, my side of the family, not bothered about presents. We don't really do that. We're not bothered. Also, she's very busy. So, not bothered. Books don't go off. So, they'll arrive when they arrive. But I kind of feel like I don't want to buy books when I know these books are coming and I really wanted them. So, I'm just being patient.
Well, it's my sister's birthday next weekend, and I bought part of her present, and it arrived the other day, and it's so cool, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, even though I don't think she watches this. I'll tell you what it is next time.
Wait. Yeah, right.
But it's awesome.
See how organized is this?
Yeah.
Her birthday is next week and you've already ordered it and it has arrived.
Yes, because I had to order it because I was afraid it wouldn't arrive in time, because the other half of it I don't think will arrive in time.
Okay, so my sister lives in England and France, half time in each place. And she texted me 2 days before my birthday and she said, we need to talk about your birthday. And I'm not helpful because I'm like, oh, I'm not bothered. But then I just got greedy and I was like, oh, actually, you could get me these books. And they're secondhand. I was like, you can get me these books. They're not, you can't find them new. They're super cheap secondhand. I think they were like, both wouldn't be more than $15. It was the postage that stopped me.
Oh, it's always the postage, isn't
But
it?
she can post it herself, which would be much cheaper. So anyway, we'll see when that arrives. I'm not bothered. Okay, so
Excellent. I think is that the end of the cross stitchy.
yes, I don't have any more cross stitchy things.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'll show you my fully finished because I have been sewing because I was poorly and couldn't really do cross stitch or knitting or any of those things, but I could do like just sewing. I thought, oh, I'll make myself. First of all, I made myself a lavender sachet because I've harvested the lavender just before winter set in, as you do. But I've got lavender from last year still, and now I have a new lot drying. So, it's a problem. And then I thought, oh, I have all these hexies, and I do love my hexies. And I did, I was a bit jealous because I did make Victoria a hexie pincushion, and I didn't have one.
Fabulous.
And so I was like, So anyway, I started making, and then I thought, oh, actually lavender. So I didn't have a pincushion. I just had my lavender bag. And this is in my underwear drawer. So that's good. I smell like a lady. And then I was still jealous because I didn't have a pincushion. So I made myself a pincushion. And the other thing as well is I get these bizarre moments where I don't seem to be able to even throw away a tiny bit of fabric, which I know is ridiculous. So I've got some that are kind of half and half piecing. But I didn't feel like I wanted to include them in my big quilt that I did. And if you haven't watched it, I've got a video just on that. But for this pincushion, I thought, I can include that. So there's one there that's kind of patched already, a patched hexie. And then I've got another one there that's a patched hexie, that one here. Which I think is whimsical and cute. So I'm very happy. And filled with my offcuts and aughts as well. So I'm very happy with these. Ching. And I've started a new quilt. So you will remember that I bought a lot of they're kind of like, they call them Civil War fabrics in America, so it's that period. And they're not my palette at all. They're dull browns. And so, but I blame Susan Stanley because she does a lot of that period reproduction sort of quilts, and they're all like drab mustards and drab pinks and drab blues and all the drabs. They're so cute. So I had gone to Stitch Kitchen, which is our diverting from waste, diverting textiles from the waste.
Not for profit.
It's a not-for-profit, but they're diverting the waste from going into the dump. And they had lots of those sorts of fabrics. So I pulled out all the ones that I had, and then I spent a very slow afternoon, like very slowly determined to do some making. So it took me about 3 hours to cut all my fabrics. So I've cut all of these because I'm doing flying geese quilt, and I'm making it king, of course. Because I had this idea, I've already made a flying geese quilt for Sophia, but I've got this other idea because Sophia, she likes things to be just right. So I had to work very hard and not letting my personality get too involved. But this one is going to be messy. It's going to be like lots of different colors, things going in different directions and whatnot. So I'm excited about that. Oh yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you. So I cut all of this. So this is like 3 days cutting. And these. I still have to cut about 100 more of these little squares. And I'm using the no waste method, where you start with a square and 4 little bits and you make 4 flying geese. No waste. No waste. So this is how it starts. I didn't iron these. And then once you've sewn them, you cut it, and this is your next step. And then you will put another square here, and then you will sew it, and then you will cut it, and then you'll have 4. You'll have 2, and then on the other side you'll have 2. So you'll have ended up with 4 from that square. So I'm trying to organize a little sort of very slow factory line of how I'm going to do things. But what happened was, so how do I say this? So the background color is the flying geese. So that's going to be the point. And I just realized that it was Susan Stanley corrupting my sense of color with all these drab colors. And although I love them, they are so pretty, and so many of them are flowery and just delightful. It's really not me. It really is a case of me coveting something else because it's beautiful. But I know what I'm like. So 3 years ago, I'd bought a fitted sheet, an organic cotton fitted sheet from a brand called Thunderpants, a New Zealand brand. And they make like big knickers. So, you know, comfortable knickers for women. They're called Thunderpants. It's a great brand. But they were doing organic bedding at one point. I don't know if they do anymore. But they had this orange one. And I thought it was fabulous, so I bought, it was on sale, because I don't think anybody else liked orange. So I'd bought this organic bed sheet, and Christina was horrified. So she's my youngest, the one that's at home at the moment. She was like, I won't be able to sleep. So anyway, I ignored that. And Sophia wasn't keen either. Neither of them are keen on orange bedding.
Oh.
Bright orange bedding. Anyway.
Must admit, I like white linen.
Yeah, I know you do. And white's fine, but it was like orange. I like vintage linen, so it doesn't need to match for me. But anyway, it was just, I just thought, you know what, I need colour. And I don't have a lot of kind of plain colours. So I was using some of the stuff from my previous quilty, the one that for the baby. Well, for my friend who's going to be a grandma. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to use that orange bed sheet. And I love it. And I think the ridiculous orangeness coupled with the muted palette, that will work for me. So I'm very excited. All that to say, I'm very excited. So I'm very happy with that. And I was getting a bit impatient. I think possibly because I was poorly. And I was like, oh, should I machine stitch this? I was like, Catherine, you'll hate the noise. And then I thought, no, I just need to organize my little, I'm going to get a little box or basket and I'm going to line them up. because I do need a project where I don't need to think.
Yeah.
I don't need to think and I don't need to count. So the prep is a bit of an ordeal, but I'm almost at the end of the prep. And then I think I'll be okay. But I'm on a bit of a quilting kick. So I think so I'm going to prep all this and then I'm just going to take it to work, and this will be my morning and afternoon tea break. I can probably do a couple of lines. I also want to do a half square triangle quilt, and it's going to be very scrappy but brights. None of this drab colorway. So I'm excited about that. And I'm sure Victoria will be excited and she'll want to do her quilt as well.
Yes, well, I've been given some questions, and I told Catherine that I'm going to quilt little covers for them, because I don't seem to be doing a large quilt in the last few years, so I thought I'd do little ones.
Yeah, nice.
And you very kindly donated some of your leftover hexies, and I'll do a hexie one.
Yeah, nice. Cool. I have more of those, but do you want repetition?
No, I like just a few that you donated. I think that's cool.
And I just wanted to, this is quite inspiring. I've been reading this. It arrived a month ago, and then I left it in Waikouaiti the day it arrived by accident. And of course, it took me 3 weeks to get it back. But I do like, I mean, this sort of thing I find inspiring, sort of scrappy and multicolored. But I have to say, I've read most of the articles now. I continue to not be a fan of the writing, I'm afraid. But I really love how they're becoming more inclusive in their stories. At the beginning of Quilt Folk, it was not a very inclusive magazine. I did not think it represented society. But I think now they have Latinx and various people of color. Mora is a very inspiring maker. Lives in Texas, I believe. Anyway, so it's really, even if you don't want to read the magazine, it's very inspiring to look at the colors and how people put things together, and to look at some of the historical stuff as well.
It looks like lovely quality and nice colourful pictures.
Yeah, I mean, their big angle is that there are no adverts, which I think is fabulous. Mostly because I'm not bothered about the adverts. Like most of the things that they usually try and sell you is not things I'm interested in buying, so it's just guff. Anyway, very lovely. So I've been reading this and doing my starting of the quilt, so that's been fun. So that's one thing. Another thing that I've been doing, oh yes, I posted this on Instagram. I've talked to you about how I quite dislike having to learn new techniques with knitting. I kind of feel like enough already. Like, I'm a really good knitter. Leave me alone. I don't need to learn new techniques. Especially because I think some of the techniques come from manufacturing. So people look at how machines make things and they go, oh, we could do that finished by hand. And someone figures it out. And then suddenly I'll have to learn it. When I say suddenly, these techniques have been around for at least a decade. Anyway, I did have the invisible cast off.
Oh, it looks great.
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan?
Not a fan. So I was looking for invisible cast off, and I came across lots of tutorials where they talk about 3 particular ones. One's the Italian, which has a couple of less steps than the one that I thought I was going to do originally. But then I thought, start with that one, see how you like it, and then you can move on to the next one, see how you like it, and then you move to the final one that was the one that you wanted. And I think the one I like better is the final one. So I don't know. I might do the cuffs differently. Anyway, this is how it looks. So it's quite stretchy, and it kind of goes around, and there is no, you kind of don't see the knit pearls, but you do get this chunky line. This is what I don't like. I don't like the chunky line. I think there is a chunky line. Can you see a chunky line, Victoria?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yep. I just, nah. I normally cast off in pattern, so knit 2, purl 2. They did a cool thing where they made you slip things, so because this is a 2x2 rib, they made you do a thing so it becomes a 1x1. So that was kind of interesting to do. I mean, I have a lot of stitches. This was a mission. This was like 3.5 hours to finish this.
It's looking amazing. I don't think I've seen this since it was just sort of shoulders.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm really happy with this. I got to the wrist and it was too big. Because I don't want to check. I don't want to measure and count stitches and figure things out. So I just knit by eye, and then I was like, oh, it's too big. So I've ripped back about this much, and I'm now decreasing faster, which is okay. I mean, I enjoy knitting, so I don't mind undoing. But I really love this sort of lace effect, and the lace at the back as well. It's very lovely. I'm very happy. But I am trying to finish it now because enough already. It kind of, it sat in my basket for about 2.5 months because I didn't want to do the cast off. Because I knew I wanted to try a new thing, but I didn't want to try a new thing. Yeah. So this is me being human. So anyway, I've done it. I've grown as a human. I've learned a new technique. I didn't like it, but that's okay.
Just prove yourself right.
I will,
Oh, you've got it.
there was somebody else talking about this. I watch a couple of women who are in the New York state. I can't remember what they're called. Oh, Knitting with Jonna and something. Anyway, they've got a huge channel now. They appeared and now they're massive. And one of them has been knitting for about 2.5 years, but the other one has been knitting for 30 years.
Oh, nice contrast.
And she was saying the same. She was like, I know how to knit. I'm a good knitter. I don't want to learn new things. So she resists as well. I can relate. But anyway, this is nice. But I want to be quick because I'm planning a new jumper as well, which I'll show you a little bit about. But I was asked by a friend of the channel what had happened to my blouse.
Oh.
My mustard blouse. And it's been relegated to the forgotten corner. It hadn't, but I did have to figure something out. And of course, I didn't want to, because it involved thinking.
And have you thunk?
I've thunk, and I've made progress.
Ooh.
So, I have done the smocking.
Smocking, that's the word I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so, and I particularly wanted this honeycomb pattern. So let me just come a little bit closer. So this is the honeycomb smocking pattern. Which is pretty stretchy. Some of the smocking things are really close together, but I didn't want that. I wanted something a bit like this. So now I think it might be a touch too small. But there is jiggery pokery that I can do to kind of fix that. So now I know how to do one, and it wasn't hard. I've never done smocking in my life, but I've spent a good 20 years of my life reading about it and thinking about wanting to do it. Mm-hmm. And it was as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. But repetitive, and you kind of have to just sit down and do it. Anyway, I'm super pleased. I would like to finish this quite quickly. So now that I know how to, the smocking was the roadblock for me.
Learning something new you seem to put off.
I just think what it is that there are some crafts that I'm super fast with, and so I'm like, well, I'll do that because I don't have to think. But I do want to get this finished because I do love it, and I love this color. Of course, it's linen and it's very light, so for next summer. But that's okay. That is okay. It's not a trendy piece, so it's never going to be out of fashion. Yeah, because I'm like a worshipper of fashion, right? So there you go, Donaghy. I've made progress. And hopefully, this is now going to live by my bed. So every week, I'm not saying every night, but every week I will make some progress. So that's that. And then the last thing, how long has it been? 53. We're good, right?
We're doing great.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, because, oh no, lies.
It's like the fourth last thing.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about. So I woke up one day. It must have been miserable and grey.
It's been so miserable and grey.
I just need an orange jumper.
Did you go shopping?
No, this was Martin. So as I said, we're not good with presents. So I got it into my head. So Martin's a wonderful husband. On the whole, he's wonderful. As am I, you know. We have our things. But after the first sort of 3 years together, his attention to gift giving and his his commitment to try has gone downhill, which is kind of true for me as well. But for some reason, I think it's just society. You see everybody around you just talking about gifts and you kind of start feeling like, why doesn't my husband get me a good gift? So anyway, we kind of got into a thing last Christmas, to the point where I spelt it out and I said, I would like you to go to the shop with me and buy some yarn with me. Afterwards, I was like, Catherine, you're such a fool. Whatever. Anyway, we did go to the shop together. I chose my yarn, which was like the cheapest yarn they had, so it wasn't even like super fancy. And then I gave him the bag, and then he gave me the bag back on Christmas. Like, he didn't even wrap it. Anyway, I love the colour.
It's gorgeous.
And then the other day, when it must have been grey and miserable, I decided, oh, I know. I need an Aran jumper full of cables.
You do?
I do. But now that I'm 50, I don't want fitted things, so I'm actually going to make it quite roomy.
Nice baggy jumper. I love a baggy jumper.
Yeah, I want a baggy jumper, and I just wanted to, because you can leave if you want to. If this is not into, oh, we should have said this is not about cross stitch anymore. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit.
Surprise.
Yeah. Hi. I just wanted to tell a little bit, because there aren't that many people that do this in the interwebs. Every so often you come across people, not many, most people will go and buy a pattern, which is fine, but so probably 15 years ago, I remember a friend of mine, her mother came to visit her, and she decided to knit something for my friend's child, and she just cast on and figured out the math, and I was just like, what? How did you? Because I've never been a pattern buyer, but I've been a book buyer, so I had books with patterns and design, and it just seemed magical to me that someone could just know how to cast, how many stitches and how to figure out. So that seemed magical. So I made a commitment to learn, and I have. And I've now kind of unlearned to follow patterns because I will not be contained. So I wanted to show you. So what I do is, like, first I think about it. I've got my yarn, so this is 8-ply, which is double knitting. And I've got a range of books. So I knew it was going to be cabled, which is Aran. So I looked at my collection of Aran things. These are not all of them, but I picked these. Traditional Aran knitting, which is great. This is Sheila Hollingworth. She's quite an authority. And then another one.
By the same author?
Yeah. So she's got a couple of, well, and she does Nordic. She does a few traditions she's done. And this is another one. And then I've also got this one called Cables and Arans. And this one called Up, Down, All Around Stitch Dictionaries. So this is how I tend to knit. I have an idea, or I see a design, or I see a person, or I see a rope, or I see someone in the supermarket wearing a jumper, and I think, oh, I like what they've done. So then I come back and I look at my books. And this one's like probably the most modern breed of patterns, because they're all stitch guides. You know, but they tell you, but what they've done is they've done it so that if you're a bottom-up knitter or a top-down knitter or in parts knitter or in the round knitter, you can do that stitch.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of magical and really great. Erica Knight as well is a fantastic designer. And there's lots of stitch patterns here. And with these two, there tends to be a little bit more history as well, which I really enjoy. But the construction tends to be more old-fashioned, so sometimes you want to replicate that and sometimes you don't, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. But what I decided, I just went through all the books, and then I decided that I liked these cable patterns best, and then I put all the post-it notes on all the cables that kind of caught my eye, and so that was kind of like the first cut. I just put post-it notes. Then I slept on it, and then the following day I took the post-it notes off the things that I thought, Catherine, you always choose that stitch pattern. Or I thought, that's not the look I'm going for. So I picked 20 cables, because this is going to be all over.
And lots of different types of cables?
Yeah, of course, because I have to make it harder for myself.
Yeah, of course.
So I had 20 to start with, and I think in the end I had 13. So then I printed out the ones I'm interested in. And I've lost some because I've been traveling around with me.
There's some more here.
Yeah, there's some more there. So the next thing I need to do is I need to do a swatch, figure out how many stitches I'm going to end up with across my chest, and then I'll be able to, I'm going to do super analog. I'll be cutting off the pictures, or at least folding them like this, and going, okay, this cable will look pretty next to this cable. It's like, oh yeah, we can do that. Or, oh, I know, I'll do this as a centerpiece, and I'll do this. So I'll just mess around like this, and eventually I'll get to a design that I like. So it's going to be fully cabled on the front and back, and I'm thinking that this time I'm going to run a cable down the arm.
Nice. I was just looking at one of those and thinking that would look really nice down the arm.
Yeah, and that's quite a feature of traditional Aran jumpers. But you know, there are some things that I've never done, like the like cables and then cables going off them. So it's going to be really fun. I do need to go to the shop and buy some more yarn, and of course it won't be the same dye lot. Never mind. But yeah, and so I'm at the same point with my knitting as I am with my quilting. Like the mental prep is a bit intense, and then once I know what I'm doing, there'll be lots of bits of paper with my instructions hanging off stitch markers so that I know what to do next, and it doesn't have to sit in my head. So that's how I do my knitting.
We are looking forward to seeing the results.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Progress and results.
Yeah, because the green cardigan is now just knit. I'm just knitting plain knitting, and then there'll be a red at the end of the hand. So that's nothing. I don't have to think about it. So yeah. So don't be timid about it. If you want to kind of branch out, I mean there are channels where they talk about how to do this, and there was a lovely one. I've forgotten her name, but oh, if I can remember her name, because she stopped doing the videos eventually. But she was a maths whiz, and she did very complicated things. But also it was quite helpful for people that were trying to figure things out, so that was really great. So yeah, that was it. And then I wanted to show you this. So Victoria said to me, "Oh, are those buttons plastic?" So that was irksome. And they weren't plastic. I think they were milk glass, but they looked plasticky. So I came and I looked in my glass jar, and I found these from another top. So these are cloth on metal, I suppose. And I made sort of little cufflinks for them. And then I replaced it. So this is fixed. You can't take it out because the buttonhole is too small. But this one's never going to be done up. So I just did them like that. So I'm really pleased with that. They look cute.
They look great.
Yeah, so I was happy with that. I don't know if you can see them, but I've used orange thread. And this is more in keeping with my sort of colour palette, isn't it?
Yes, I think it looks better visually
It
than the
adds.
white ones.
Yeah. I've kept the white ones for something else.
Yeah,
I'll use them at some point. So that, and I've just got these two things to talk about. Is that okay?
That's fine.
So I'll do this first. So one of our viewers, a couple of times now she's asked, so Dolly, she's asked a couple of times, you know, who do I follow quilt-wise? I do have to say that I feel like I'm with like Dolly's, like I would like recommendations, because I have a small group of people that I follow, but I don't feel that they're really exactly what I want. Like I'm not super picky, but I like people that aren't just going out and buying a pattern and making a quilt from the pattern. I mean, that's okay, but because it's not the way I quilt, they can make beautiful quilts, but because it's not the way I quilt, like I'm not learning from it, because I'm not interested in quilting like that. So I like quilters that either piece by hand or quilt by hand, or do natural dyeing fabrics, or use second-hand fabrics, or they're artists, or they're really into scrappy. Anyway, I have a little list, because I did promise Dolly that I would put a list together. But I've discovered two more in the last fortnight. So I've often talked about Heidi Parks. So she's an artist, and she quilts mostly by hand, but also some machine piecing. But she does all her hand quilting. The quilting bit is by hand, but most of the piecing is also by hand. Although she's dabbling with her machine a bit more, I think. And I like it because it's interesting, because I like her work because it doesn't come from a pattern, but she now makes patterns, which means that there's a host of people making quilts like hers. And even though her patterns are very fluid and loose, it's amazing how there's tons of quilts like hers out there now. But that's okay. You know, there's like so many different ways that people can make. So I'm still very interested in Heidi Parks as an artist and maker. So she has a YouTube channel where you can find her. There's also Zach Foster and their friends, and I really like Zach because he uses found and secondhand materials. He pieces by machine, I believe, or maybe that's wrong. He definitely has a long arm machine in his apartment, so I think quilting is done by machine, but maybe he pieces by, I'm not sure. But I really love his, he does burial quilts and he does memory quilts. He's not a full-time artist, but I really like that he buys, most of his fabrics are secondhand or donated. I think that's fantastic. And then there's Luke Haynes, who only uses fabric from Goodwill stores, but he goes to like wholesale Goodwill stores, so he will buy bin loads of fabric. He's in America. He's an artist, but then his piecing and quilting is machine, and he's unapologetic about that, and his quilts are amazing. He's a great artist, and he's doing a lot of work to kind of, he does quite unique things. They're kind of installations and quite architectural, and he plays with perspective and super interesting. So I really enjoyed him as well. And all three of them have started putting together monthly, is it monthly? I think it's monthly, Zoom videos on YouTube where they invite another guest.
Oh, nice.
And then they talk about what the guest does. So they have Joe the Quilter coming up, but they've had lots of really interesting people, including Maura, who I showed in the Quilt Folk magazine, who I know from before. It's funny, there's not that many people that do kind of unusual things, so you do find them on the internet. But yeah, so, you know, if you don't know any of these people, I definitely recommend that you follow them on Instagram and that you follow them on YouTube and watch those videos. They're very inspiring. So the group videos are called Soft Bulk. Then the two YouTube channels that I've discovered, well, one of them I knew from ages ago, but I've kind of rediscovered her. And she's called Darlene Michaud. Maybe French, I'm not sure. She's American. Actually, I say that. She could be Canadian. She has a Northern American accent. I don't know where she says she's come from. But what I enjoy about her, she's a very salt of the earth, no frills, she's just, you know, I just like to make stuff. She's not bothered about corners meeting, you know, any of that sort of stuff, which I'm very behind. But she does a lot of scrappy stuff, and I really enjoy scrappy stuff because it makes it so much more accessible for people to kind of go to secondhand shops and get, you know, shirts and work that way. So I've enjoyed that one on and off, and I was watching one today about a postage stamp quilt because I quite fancy postage stamp quilting. Making a quilt that's a postage stamp, which is super tiny. I don't believe she does hand quilting. It's all machine piecing, machine quilting, but still interesting. But the one that I've really enjoyed, and I've watched, maybe I've watched 20 of her videos recently. It's just so much fun. It's a woman called Beth, and her channel is called My Sewing Room. And I really enjoy her because, and she also made me realize that I'm actually quite a traditional quilter. It's just that my materials and my process is probably not what everybody's doing, but I'm actually quite a traditional quilter. I like those traditional blocks. And a bit like my knitting, she doesn't really use patterns. she has books of historical quilts, and she was showing like 2 or 3 that she has, where it's just the pictures of the traditional quilts and the various names that they give them, and then she figures out how to create the block. It doesn't come with instructions. Cool. And then she has her YouTube channel where she shows you how she does that. She also has an Etsy shop and she sells some of her patterns. So if you enjoy what she does, you can kind of support her that way. But I just love the fact that she has a big craft pantry, because you can tell, because sometimes she has meters of fabric. But she also uses bed sheets and tablecloths and her husband's shirts. And she's very into the scrappy quilt, which I really enjoy. So that's my sewing room, and her name is Beth. So you probably enjoy that. And as I said, the other one's Darlene Michaud or Michaud, I'm not sure. But I will, not too quickly, because Victoria uploads it, she puts the things, and then I go in and I add things. So I will add my little list. But by the same token, if I should have mentioned the last homely house, Kate, she does kind of scrappy, but she doesn't do, she's a big fan of K facet fabrics, which to me are prohibitively expensive. I've got a little bit, but not a lot. But she also does that, figure it out, it's not that hard, you know. I really like that enabling attitude. I really like it when people say, oh, do you fancy doing this? Oh, let's figure it out. Yeah. Rather than go and buy the $35 pattern and spend $200 on fabric and you know, you can learn how to do it. I don't like that. I prefer, you know, steal a couple of shirts from your husband's not so good shirts, and or your wife's, and work that way. So anyway, that's that. I hope you enjoy that, Dolly. I hope you get some good stuff, but also recommend stuff to me, because in fact, Ella messaged me today and she said, oh, do you know this YouTuber? I'm binging on her hexie quilts. And I was like, yeah, I know her. I know everyone. I said, Ella, I don't have a life. I've got my family, my work, and YouTube and making. That's all I do. Anyway, so that was it. And then the last thing, for sure, I think, is the giveaway. And we only had one New Zealand person that mentioned threads, and so this book is going to Zeb. I don't know if you'll do the magic and put the video at the end. I don't know if we can do that.
Oh, we didn't record it.
Oh, no, we didn't record it. I'm all about the tech. You just have to trust us. So this is going to you, Zeb. I'm super delighted, because Zeb is someone that does a lot for the cross-stitch community, and she
Sorry, people, my nose is dripping.
She started the Facebook New Zealand group for cross stitches. So great. So Zeb, can you DM me on Instagram with your address where you would like this to be sent, and I shall post it. Maybe even this weekend if you get back to me. You'll have to, I might DM you myself. Anyway, I'm really glad it's going to you, and I hope you enjoy reading it. I need a drink.
We hope you have a good and creative next 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, if you're in New Zealand, keep warm. Hope you're not flooding. It's raining a lot. Yeah, look after yourself.
That's about it. We'll see you in a fortnight.
That's it. We'll see you in a fortnight. Ka kite.
Bye.